I haven't got time to train. I can't fit the gym today in either. We have all probably heard and used these excuses ourselves at one time or another. We know strength training is good for our health, but with everyone being so busy, a lack of time is often cited as a reason not to train. For those of us who are weekend warriors and want to train, but are not athletes and so struggle for time, we shouldn't worry. Because an article published in the journal Sports Medicine titled "No Time to Lift? Designing Time-Efficient Training Programs for Strength and Hypertrophy, a Narrative Review," which was produced by Iversen and colleagues. The article provides us with some recommendations to help us train in the most efficient manner. This presentation, brought to you by Talking Sports Science, will be a summary of their recommendations. Recommendation 1. Warm-up and stretching. The warm-up is often recommended at the start of a training session and is intended to prepare the body both physiologically and psychologically for training, with the aim to enhance performance and reduce the risk of injury. Warm-ups can fall broadly into two categories, which are general and specific. A general warm-up aims to increase the muscles and the body's core temperature, whereas a specific warm-up aims to increase muscular activation and provide neuromuscular rehearsal of the exercise to be performed. For example, performing squats with light weights before progressing to heavier squats. When aiming to train in a time-efficient manner, it is recommended to avoid extensive general warm-ups, and instead focus on specific warm-ups, as this can be beneficial when training with heavy loads, e.g. above 80% of 1RM. When it comes to static stretching, it should not be prioritised, unless an important goal of the training is to increase mobility. In terms of volume and intensity, recommendation 2 explores how much and how heavy should you train. Weekly training volume is more important than training frequency. Lifting a minimum of 4 weekly sets per muscle group is recommended. To achieve progressive overload, where possible, it is recommended to increase volume up to 10 plus weekly sets per muscle group. For strength and hypertrophy, it is recommended to use between 6 to 15 reps, where the last few reps are a challenge to complete. More repetitions, for example between 15 and 40 reps, can be used if training is performed close to failure. More repetitions obviously means being less time efficient. However, it is relevant to know this for those of us who train at home and may not have access to heavy weights. Moving on to recommendation 3, what should you train? When it comes to exercise selection, strength training exercises can be performed unilaterally, meaning training one side of the body at a time, for example split squat or dumbbell curl, or bilaterally, meaning that you are training both sides of your body at the same time, e.g. squat or barbell curls. When programming strength training for optimum time efficiency, multi-joint and bilateral exercises are recommended. Multi-joint exercises, also known as compound exercises, allow a greater amount of muscle mass to be trained in a shorter period of time. In other words, you get more bang for your buck in comparison to single joint exercises. Also, bilateral exercises are more time efficient, as both sides of the body are trained simultaneously, and therefore should be prioritised unless core activation is central to your training goal. However, if you need to increase the difficulty of an exercise but don't have access to heavy weights, unilateral training can be used. If you're having to train at home, elastic bands and bodyweight exercises are also a viable option. In terms of what actual exercises to select, your training program should include a minimum of 1 leg pressing exercise, e.g. squats, 1 upper body pulling exercise, e.g. pull-up, and one upper body pushing exercise, e.g. bench press. Exercises can be performed with machines and or free weights based on training goals, availability and personal preferences. Recommendation 4 explores 3 time-saving training strategies, which are drop sets, rest pause training and supersets. Let's begin with looking at drop sets. Drop sets involves performing a traditional set, reducing the load, and then immediately performing another set, or multiple sets. Typically 1 to 3 drops are used with a 20 to 25% reduction in weight, with all sets performed to muscular failure. Drop sets are thought to produce a larger metabolic stress and potentially more muscle damage, which in turn could increase the hypertrophic response. You can use drop sets for both single joint and multi-joint exercises, although from a practical and safety perspective, drop sets are most suited to single joint training. Moving on to rest pause training. Rest pause training is a method for structuring sets into smaller sets with short breaks in between, which are commonly performed in 1 or 2 ways. The first approach involves performing 4 to 6 sets of single reps using a load close to 1 RM, while the second approach involves performing 1 set to failure, interset rest, often 20 seconds, new set to failure, interset rest, etc. until the pre-planned number of repetitions are performed. The rationale behind rest pause training is that the short breaks allow for maintenance of high loads, high concentric velocities and high power outputs. When time is of the essence, the rest pause method is advocated to be an efficient method for improving both strength and especially hypertrophy. However, more research is needed to confirm this. This type of training is very intense, so some training experience is recommended before you give it a go yourself. The third and final time-saving training strategy is supersets. Superset training, also known as paired sets training or compound sets, are when you complete 2 or more exercises in succession with limited or no rest between them. Supersets can be performed by pairing exercises for the same muscle group, for example bench press and flies, or by pairing exercises for different muscle groups, e.g. biceps curl and tricep pushdowns. Drop sets, rest pause training and supersets roughly halves training time compared to traditional training without compromising training volume, and are primarily beneficial for hypertrophy. From a practical standpoint, it is recommended that inexperienced lifters use exercise machines over free weights when performing these advanced time-saving methods with multi-joint exercises, as this is likely to be the safer and less demanding option. Even though the article focused on acute training variables to maximise training efficiency, the authors acknowledge that specificity and progressive overload are the most important training principles to take into consideration when designing time-efficient training programs, as limited training availability requires optimization of all training variables, including how the program is structured over time. Hope you found that useful, folks. This presentation was brought to you by Talking Sports Science. Thanks for listening. See you next time.